We're good.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's webinar. We appreciate you so much for joining us and giving us your time. We know it's very, very valuable. Just a quick introduction. My name is Bethany Fagan. I am with PandaDoc. I am our content marketing manager. I will introduce my co-host here in just a minute, but we're gonna give everybody just a couple more minutes to get in, get settled, maybe grab a drink of water, and get themselves ready for today's session. While we do that, I'd love if you guys could kind of see if our chat function is working here and let me know maybe where you're tuning in from, what you're excited to see today, maybe even your favorite Netflix series that you've been watching lately. I always love to hear everybody's kind of TV delights, you know, what's everybody do in their spare time. I know for me, I've been watching Cheer. I'm sure everybody has seen it. If you haven't, even if you're not a fan, you should totally check it out. So, Anna, Reva, what Netflix are you guys binging right now? What do you guys got going on?
I'm watching quite a bit of Peaky Blinders. So really, really nice kind of throwback to the roaring 20s. But I'm stuck on that right now. I've watched like 3 seasons in 1 week. I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I've heard that one's really great too. I haven't checked that one out.
I think the last series I finished on Netflix was You.
Oh, yes, great one.
Very good. I watched it in an embarrassingly short amount of time. But it's not Netflix, but I'm super into The Handmaid's Tale right now.
Okay. Is that one on Hulu, right?
It is. It's on Hulu.
Yeah, I haven't checked that one out because, I mean, it's so funny. I cut cable, but like what that really means doesn't mean anything. It's just you subscribe to more stuff.
I know. I'm in that boat. In Canada, it's on Crave TV. I don't know if that's in the US, but I'm subscribing to Crave now.
Cool. All right, we're 5 minutes in, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start sharing my screen and introduce our hosts for today, and then get everybody underway. So give me 1 second here. Okay, let's try sharing. Oh, see, wrong button. Here we go. Okay, today's topic, again, humanizing the sales process with Team PandaDoc and Team Vidyard. I wanted to go ahead and introduce today's speakers. We have Miss Anna Duenas. She is on Team PandaDoc. Anna, why don't you give us a couple of minutes of more about you and your role here?
Yeah, so I started our SDR team in PandaDoc back in September 2018. We grew from about 4 SDRs to 17. So a lot of growth within a year and a half. But prior to working at PandaDoc, I was working for Yelp and working for Google as an account executive. So the topic today really speaks to the heart because I've had a lot of experience with selling before I was managing.
Great, awesome, thanks so much. Reva, tell us a little more about yourself.
Yeah, so I am one of 2 managers of our business development or outbound sales teams here at Vidyard. I've been at Vidyard for almost 5 years. Before joining this role, which was just last September, I was on our account executive team, and before that was at Oracle. So I've got about 9 years of experience in B2B sales.
Nice, awesome, thanks so much. I'm super excited to hear from you guys today on how your experience, can help with this topic and help the audience. So thanks. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. So if you're having trouble with audio, definitely please let us know, but I would also try dialing in on the phone. That sometimes can help with that. Some of you are already using the chat and the Q&A. Thanks so much for that. So we are going to do a little Q&A at the end. So feel free to ask questions as we're going through this content today. And we are recording, so we will make sure that whoever is attending the session today does get the recording when we've wrapped up. That usually typically takes a couple of hours, so be patient with us, but you should get it in your inbox by the end of the day. And then we'll also send along the slides too, so don't feel like you have to try to take some notes or too much of information. We'll make sure that you guys get all of the slide deck as well. And there might be a couple of other treats at the end too, so we'll keep those there. Overview. So today's topics are, again, about humanizing the sales process. So we're going to dive into a few different things, what's happening in the world of sales, and basically how to be human at every single stage in the sales cycle. Specifically, we're going to focus on prospecting, proposing, closing, and onboarding. These are stages where PandaDoc and Vidyard, obviously have tools that can help in these stages, but also just where we've had the most experience and the most success within our own sales teams. So yeah, I'm gonna kick it over to Reva. She's gonna start us off here around just a little bit of background about what we're kind of seeing in the sales world these days.
Thanks. Yeah, so being in sales, B2B sales for about 9 years, I've kind of seen this shift as well. So I'm pretty passionate about it in terms of what it means for sales teams to continue to be successful with this change in sales. So I kind of see the change in B2B sales being twofold. Number one is that we're seeing this shift in power from buyers to, or from sales reps to buyers. So before, even like 10 years ago, sales reps really owned this process. They had all the information behind the scenes. And as a buyer, whether you liked it or not, you had to interact with the salesperson. And so you had to put up with maybe lackluster sales process. And it was all because there was no information for you to really make an informed decision. That power is really shifting into the buyer's hands. And so now more than ever, information is everywhere online. There's probably too much information about what direction you could go with these purchases. There's like a big rise in peer review sites. So buyers are relying on people in their trusted network to tell them what type of purchase they should make. And so the sales reps here are really, the power is not in their hands, and they have to really meet that situation and be able to operate effectively in it in order to continue to see success. So that's number one. We don't have the power anymore. Number two is that there's been this huge rise in sales technology. All these sales teams now have this huge tech stack, and at the centerpiece of this tech stack is very often sales automation tools. So things like SalesLoft or Outreach. At Vidyard, we use SalesLoft, for instance. And SalesLoft really helps our team hit a level of efficiency that we would have never been able to hit before. But it is like a double-edged sword, where that's the positive, but the negative is that it can really dehumanize the process if sales teams are using it inappropriately and not really acting like a human, and instead are acting like a robot. So this slide really shows how technical we've gotten. I'm sure a lot of people have seen that MarTech landscape and the explosion of marketing technology. Well, sales technology is like really going down that same path. And so the buyers that we sell to now, they are so used to the fact that chances are it's not a sales rep reaching out one-on-one anymore. It's a sales rep sending a template out to hundreds of people. So we've really dehumanized the approach in sales.
Yeah, Anna, anything else to add to that topic? I mean, I'm sure, you working with larger organizations too, and then transitioning to PandaDoc have kind of seen this shift as well.
Yeah, I think it's a much different world. I remember first selling and getting a Yellow Pages book and kind of just having to call from that list. But I think that, these tools can either help us or they can, what Reva was saying, come against us if we're relying on that to do our messaging, and people feel like they're talking to somebody that talks to everybody else the same way. So I think having this customization and being able to adjust your language and your selling style and your technique with every client is still really important.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. With that said, I think we're going to jump into our first step in the sales process here around prospecting. So Reva, why don't you kick us off again with just kind of prospecting and tips and tricks and things that you guys see at Vidyard?
Yeah, so I think in light of what we just described, there is this huge opportunity for sales teams to really shine. There's a lot of articles and thought pieces out there on like, is the SDR, BDR role dead now that there's all this automation? And I think Anna and I would both say, no, definitely not. And so there's this opportunity if the buyers that we're selling to have really low expectations on what they can expect from sales and sales development professionals, there's an opportunity for these teams to really step up and show what they're capable of. And so sales has become very dehumanized. We know that people are using templates for messaging, and they have, hi first name, and everyone's first name is being merged into that template. But what we've found at Vidyard is video can really reintroduce this humanized element to your sales process. So what we've seen is here at Vidyard, we start all of our, and like I said, we use SalesLoft, but for any cadence that a sales rep might be using, the first step of every cadence is an email with a video. We do that because we have found video, when we're mentioning video in a subject line, we have about an 8 times increase in open rate. And when we have a video in the email itself, we're seeing a 3 times increase in click-through rate. And the ultimate goal of our email is to get them to consume our content. People want to watch video over read. It's way easier to digest. And I mean, pressing play is a much more passive way to get information than read a paragraph in your email. So if we can meet them where they want to be and then get them to click play, we've got a chance for them to consume our information. And from there, our prospects are really delighted by this, because video isn't a silver bullet. Just because you do video doesn't mean suddenly you're getting people just wanting to take demos with you. But it does give you this opportunity to catch their attention and then show that you've done your research, you're coming to this prospect with value, and you have something important to say to them. So that's why every first step in our sales outreach process really starts with video. What I find, like from the human element, number one, it's human because you're seeing someone on the other end, but we also see these teams getting super creative. So I just wanted to share some ideas on how teams are actually being so creative with video. I don't think I'm a super creative person. I don't think I'd have the confidence to, for instance, I've seen people rap their pitch, which I think is so cool. A girl on my team actually does that. I've seen people sing with a guitar, so they've actually taken the time to write their pitch into a song and sing to their prospects. And we've seen those videos go viral on LinkedIn, just because people are so impressed that they're actually taking the time in their outreach. One of my favorites is a business development rep was prospecting Buffalo Wild Wings, and he actually ate a package of suicide wings from Buffalo Wild Wings while he said his pitch. I mean, you just can't get better than that. So those are just some ideas of how to introduce a humanized approach in video.
Yeah, Reva, I was actually going to tell the story of one time we were sold by Drift through a video. They put on a panda head. We were in the closing part of our purchase. And that definitely, I don't know if they purchased it or they had that already in their office, but we loved it and we purchased them. So we're definitely a testament of that.
Yeah. And I mean, if anything, you've made someone laugh and smile, and that's a great way to build rapport that you need.
Totally. I mean, the only way that you can do that is just by being human. So it goes back to our subject today. So it's awesome. Okay. I'm sorry, guys, with these slides. I'm still bouncing all over the place. So I'm sorry if I'm making people sick, but I'm going to try to get it under control. I promise. Okay. So now that we've talked a little bit about prospecting, that kind of leads us into our next topic, our next step in the sales process. Once you've kind of gotten their attention, worked them somewhat through the sales cycle, now it's pretty much ready to pop the question, right? Propose to them on the solution and that you're ready to offer them, and hopefully they're ready to accept. So Anna's going to kind of dive into this topic a little bit more and kind of how we do proposals at PandaDoc. Obviously that's the nature of our business, but I'll let her speak more to it.
Yeah, so in PandaDoc, we have this phrase where we drink our own champagne, and I think that's pretty cool because as we're demoing the product, we're actually able to put a proposal together for the customers on the fly. So we're literally adding the products that we're talking about while they're looking at the screen. We're building the proposal as we're demoing the software. And I think what's unique in this instance is usually before we get ready for a demo, we'll grab some content from their website or we'll grab some pictures from their About Me page. And then as we demo the product, they can really start to see what their company image would look like when they're purchasing the tool, and how their documents would look like. And I think that's really powerful for them to be able to kind of visualize their own content on what you're selling. And I think that's one of the things that makes it fun when you're talking to a client and they kind of have that surprised look on their face of like you finding a picture from LinkedIn of their team or something like that. But even more than that, being able to put something together that's really transparent. So if you're talking to a prospect and you talked about a particular product, you're not hiding the price from them or anything. You're building the quote right then and there. There's no questions as you send that proposal out. And then you even go down a little bit further and you're able to kind of negotiate and track analytics that way.
Reva, I'm not sure how you guys build proposals at Vidyard, but anything else to add there? I mean, I'm sure you guys have a system and process of how you're personalizing proposals too.
Yeah, we love using video to help with proposals as well. So once we do have a proposal created, I think that's so cool that you build it on the fly. But once we would do that for a prospect, we can use video to actually go through the proposal, because we know people aren't purchasing just on their own. There's, between 6 and 8 people that need to weigh in on a purchase. So it's a really easy way to share a proposal and walk through it and address certain questions that people might have, or even show people where they need to sign so that no fields are missed. And so we do that to kind of share with stakeholders.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, right? And that also saves you guys another meeting too, or, enabling your decision maker with the content that they need so that they can help sell to those people who are a part of the process as well. So it definitely saves some time. That's a great idea. Okay. So Anna's going to take care of this subject too. So we've got the prospect, we've sent them the proposal. Now it's ready to get the deal done. So we're going to talk about personalizing as a part of the closing process.
Yeah, so oftentimes when we send a proposal out, there's a few people involved in the purchasing decision. And a lot of times we're actually seeing them talk back and forth in that proposal. And I think this is really powerful because you get an insight as to who your champion is and who's trying to fight the deal. I think real-time commenting really helps, but I think being able to interject there and, kind of have a healthy debate with the person who's interjecting will definitely be key. A lot of times we'll see finance folks get added onto the proposal as a forwarded recipient, and then they'll weigh in on the pricing when they have no idea what the tool is or what's actually being purchased. So being able to kind of figure out who that other person is that's making that decision, and then being able to talk to them in real time, and as well as seeing their conversations happening right in front of you is definitely key. One of the things that I saw in one of the proposals as we were doing the research on this is actually somebody reaching out to a prospect on New Year's Eve. They were just trying to close the deal, and they saw that the customer was looking at the proposal at that time, and they were able to say, hey, you know what? I don't know why you're not at a party right now or anything like that, but if you're really thinking about PandaDoc, let's bring this in before the end of the year. And I think being able to kind of have that human element of talking about what's going on, whether it's the holiday or not, or being able to point out that someone's looking at something is definitely key, because you're able to negotiate with them right then and there and have a real conversation on, what's actually happening.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember writing a blog post on this subject. So if you go to the PandaDoc blog, you check this out. We have a whole article on how we basically eat our own dog food, and you guys can see the text message exchange that happened between the rep and the prospect for this. So it's actually a really neat story.
Yeah, and I think
Reva, did you have anything to add? Oh, sorry, Anna, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask with Reva, this might be a good way to also maybe send over additional video if you're negotiating at this point. I don't know if that's something that you guys do, but we've had instances where we send videos to the people who are trying to fight the deal from happening within the org.
I think that is such a cool idea. Yeah. Again, it goes back to that, like you mentioned, Donna, like some people are weighing in on pricing when they don't really get what the reason behind the purchase is. And so we lean on video quite a bit. We hope that we're not getting to the negotiation part where this happens, but I mean, it can happen at any time. But we have a lot of pre-created content so it's not that one-to-one video anymore, but it might be a video on an integration that a customer is going to be using, or a customer testimonial from their industry. And we're always trying to enable our champions with that content so they can share it with their IT team or CFO, whoever needs to sign off on this.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so next, oh, we had talked about analytics, so sorry there, I forgot to advance the slide, getting into the thick of the conversation. Anna kind of touched on this too, about just automatic reminders and some other things that you can do to kind of keep the sales cycle moving, especially during the negotiation phase. So now we've gotten to our last step, or at least towards the end of our sales cycle, right? So we've prospected, we've proposed, we've closed. Now, typically what happens is that handoff between sales and maybe your onboarding team or your customer success managers or your account managers. So I know that the team at Vidyard has seen some really nice success with some onboarding tactics, and I'm going to let Reva kind of talk about that.
Yeah, so at onboarding, I was trying to reflect on this. As an account executive, you've spent like maybe months working with a prospect, and finally they're becoming a customer and you're so excited, and it kind of feels like the end of the road for the account executive because someone's going to pick up the baton and continue that relationship. But for the customer, that's really like the beginning of their partnership with you, their paid partnership with you. So we use video during that transition. It, for a new customer, can be, you know, you sign the contract and then you might have these questions of, did I do the right thing? Am I going to be supported? Are we going to implement properly? And getting that video from your account executive saying, hey, like, we appreciate you choosing to partner with us, and we are so excited to help you with XYZ goals, can be a really fuzzy, warm, human feeling to sales cycles that very often you've never met this person in real life because travel's expensive now and you're not seeing your customers in person as often as maybe we once were. So we do that to let them know, like, you're in good hands and we're excited to do this with you. And then use that opportunity to introduce them to the team that's going to be taking care of them from there. So at Vidyard, that's a customer success manager and an onboarding or implementation manager. So we answer any questions they might have around who's going to reach out to you next, how much time you can expect until someone reaches out to you, and what that next meeting is going to be about, and really dispel any questions the new customer might have. Customer success managers also use video quite a bit when maybe a CSM is getting promoted and their book of business is going to someone new. We see them use video to send an introduction out to their customers, to introduce them to the new CSM. And that's a really nice handoff too, because I think we've all been in a situation where our CSM changes and we feel like they don't get any of the work we've done over the past year with that company, and are they going to take care of us as well? So this is a really human way to take care of those transitions. We also find that our onboarding team uses video quite a bit during the onboarding process. Maybe that's through frequently asked questions or how to set up certain integrations. And that too is a pretty human touch because, again, you're not meeting those teams in person. And so going back and forth through email, sometimes, you know, just like text messaging, we might read some sort of tone, passive-aggressive tone in an email, or feel like we're not getting the support we need. And so we find video, just like hearing that person's voice explain whatever it is they're explaining to you, can make you remember that your team over on the other side that's supporting you, it's a team of real people that are helping you here.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I think this is especially important for longer sales cycles, right? Like if you have a really long sales cycle and you have an AE who has poured their heart and soul into this account and worked really, really hard to get this customer, and then suddenly it's almost like handing off their baby to, you know, somebody else. It's super important to kind of have that connection and that reassurance from a customer that they're going to be in good hands. They see a familiar face, they're seeing a new face. They're really trying to make that connection and kind of keeping that consistent you know, reassurance that they're going to be in good hands. So I love this idea. I think it's a super awesome way to kind of just keep the love going. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think this can also be pretty customized to what the customer needs. I know in PandaDoc, when we do our onboarding process, we'll create a video that's specific to that department if we're bringing in a whole account. How, you know, the finance team is using PandaDoc might be a little different from how the sales team is using it versus an account management team. So having those personalized videos on here's how you use PandaDoc and then here's how you use it for your team is definitely key. So that as you're onboarding and whatnot, you can really get a chance to see how different it is and what kind of different privileges you have right in front of you, and there's no confusion.
Yeah, great point. Okay, so we wouldn't be doing a webinar without at least plugging our product, right? Shameless plug here. But our two tools do integrate with one another. So, you know, it's super easy for any kind of Vidyard customers and PandaDoc customers to share their Vidyard videos right in a PandaDoc. You know, I think this is super helpful, especially towards that bottom half of the sales cycle, like we had just talked about around proposing and closing, and then as particularly onboarding. So we can share more information after the webinar, but you know, to check out each one of our products, just head to our websites, vidyard.com, pandadoc.com. There's a wealth of information on each one of those on how you can get started. I know that PandaDoc offers a free trial. Reva, I'm assuming you guys probably offer something very similar.
Yep, we've got a free tool as well.
Awesome, very cool. Okay, so we got a few minutes left. I think we got, oh wow, we're actually a little ahead of schedule. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop sharing my screen for just a couple of minutes so then I can dive into the Q&A section. So let me go ahead and kind of take a look at those. Yes, we are recording and we will make sure you guys get that recording over in your email when we're done. Ooh, Reva, this is a great question. What's the average length of the video in order for it to be effective? I think that's a really great question.
Yeah, that's great. I just saw that there too. And I like Brianna, 30 to 45 seconds, sweet spot. I would agree. We have our teams making videos anywhere from 60 to 70 seconds. Anything more than that, we see the drop-off rate on attention span. So not too short that you're not getting value across, but not too long that people are not watching the full thing.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, as a content marketer, I always try to shoot for our videos to be around the same. So cool. Scott asked a great question too. What equipment do you guys find to be the easiest to use / upload and provide good quality video? I think this is also important.
Yeah, so here at Vidyard, most of our teams just use the video or the camera that's built into our Macs. I know one team splurged and bought webcams and they're in high def now. So you could do that, but there's nothing wrong with the audio and camera that comes with your computer.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we live in the world of great technology, right? So there's usually some great things that are already built in. Cool. Let's see. We had a couple of other things here. Oh, here you go, Anna. This is a great one. When people are commenting, when do we find that people are commenting on the proposal? Are they aware that we have visibility into their comments? I think that's a great question.
Yeah, so when the customer receives a PandaDoc, they are able to leave comments on the right-hand side, and it says public comment. So they're able to kind of talk amongst themselves. A lot of times we'll send a proposal to people that are in different offices. So being able to kind of ask those questions to each other, they can mention that colleague of theirs and then kind of talk to them that way, but they are able to see that it's a public comment. And I think it's important to kind of be able to call them out on some of that stuff. So if you're seeing somebody that's blocking your deal, reaching out to them and being able to ask, hey, you know, what is the issue with PandaDoc, or what are some of your objections, and then being able to kind of handle that objection in real time as you're seeing that in the comments.
And then
I think another one.
Yeah, go for it.
Another one on here. They're asking about whether or not the reps use scripts and how we're making them more human. I think we actually have a blog post around this for our outbound team. We do have a script that some of our outbound SDRs are using. It's pretty funny. I think it's quite unique because they start off by saying that they're doing a cold call and they're asking for about 15 seconds of their time, and then giving them the option to hang up if they want to. So one of our top SDRs, Max, kind of developed this with our sales enablement manager, Patrick. And I think the great thing about this kind of opening line is you're telling somebody up front that this is a sales call. You're giving them the option to get an out, but then you're also kind of letting them know who you are once they give you the permission to talk. From there, they talk about some problems or some issues that some of our personas go through, and then they immediately ask that customer if they're experiencing the same pain. So we're not necessarily feature pitching, but instead driving into the pain in the first 15 seconds of the call, which I think is really important.
Yeah, it's a great point. Yeah, I mean, I personally loved, I think that was one of the things that drew me to PandaDoc was just the intelligence that we give around, you know, people who are viewing proposals and how frequently they're viewing them. You know, I think a lot of people, funny story, I used to be a sales rep before I became a marketer. And I remember the days of eFax and, you know, sending emails into the darkness and then never hearing from anybody again, right? So it's super nice that there is a feature and functionality that can kind of let you know what happens after you hit send and still have that line of communication to your prospect. I can probably help answer this one too. Do you have a professional marketing team with recording the videos? A poor quality video might cause some opposite results. How do you control the video quality? I know as a marketing team, we kind of have a nice mix of videos that are created by our sales reps. And then, yeah, we do dedicate some marketing budget to creating some high quality video testimonials. You know, as most people know, video is not cheap. It's very expensive and it's hard to always see ROI once you're spending or paying a nice agency for that kind of video. You know, I do think that this can be kind of a thing around, you know your audience and you know your customers, right? So there is, I think it's kind of ranges across industry and across what you're selling, you know, how you want to put your best foot forward, right? Like, I think there's always something to be said about somebody's face on a camera and just kind of talking live and getting it done. You know, we live in a world of communication where people are texting and kind of just getting on video calls like we're doing today. You know, I always don't think that you have to spend buku bucks, right, to kind of get that video quality and get that message across. Anna, Reva, I don't know if you have anything else to add to that, but I kind of.
Yeah, no, I would totally agree. I think there's a time and place for polished video. And on the sales side, I would say it's not really what we're trying to do. We're trying to show that like there's a human over here and we're authentic. And I think with like FaceTime and Instagram videos, everyone, this authentic connection that people are craving it. And we say like, you know, we have this script that you might have in the back of your head, but you don't want to sound like you didn't make a single mistake and you're perfect, because that comes off a bit strange. So yeah, I think authentic, easy, quick, and no crazy equipment required videos are pretty nice.
Yeah. David, we did comment on this a little bit. If I comment on the doc, does it send an email to others who are on the document? Anna already kind of touched on this. You do have the option of leaving public or private comments. If it's public, yes, it does get to all the recipients. If it is private, you can tag somebody and it would go directly to them. Let's see, how would you like to? Okay, here you go. As a content marketer, how would you like to be prospected to? Do you have any examples of prospecting outreaches that you've reached that really got you excited, or examples that you automatically delete? It's a great question. I think as content marketers, we're always looking at how we can provide more value. So for me, I love it when people kind of do a little more research on me. They can go to my LinkedIn. I seem to be a very open book. I have 2 French bulldogs named Tater Tot and Pork Chop. They have a public Instagram. It's not terribly hard to find. So I love it when people mention my dogs because they are my life. So anytime that you can kind of maybe try to get some sort of outside perspective outside of work about somebody's life, or something that they've written about, or something, maybe they've done a podcast show recently and you listened to it and you had some sort of takeaway. For me, anytime somebody I can clearly see that they've taken the time to get to know me as Bethany and not just like somebody that they're prospecting to, that always gets my attention. And I know that's always something that we kind of preach with some of our outreach here at PandaDoc.
Yeah, I know I've had a few SDRs talk about my past roles in their email. I think that's also really powerful. That shows that they did their research in LinkedIn. I've also had people kind of put mine and a colleague's name in one email. So that kind of flags my attention because if I'm seeing a colleague's name on there, I'm trying to think if that's something that we're collaborating on. So I think those two are pretty clever.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, this is a great question. Mariano, he's a big fan of ours. Thank you, Mariano. We appreciate it. Reva, do you know if Vidyard has any tutorials for developing cool and interesting videos for prospects? Are there any kind of resources out there for that?
Yeah, we have, our blog is chock full of resources when it comes to video creation. You can kind of narrow your search based on what role you're in, if you're a sales or a marketer or what have you. So we have that. And I think we have quite a few recent blog posts with, my favorite ones are ones where we have customer examples. So if you search for our Video in Business Awards, you'll find that Buffalo Wild Wing. I just suggest everyone look it up. It's great.
That is insane. I love that. It's so, I mean, that is an amazing idea.
Yeah. And then I think we have one like 21 video ideas or something like that, where we had a lot of different customer video submissions on how people are using video in sales. And there were just so many different ideas there. So I suggest our blog.
Okay, awesome. Another great question around what are we using to measure the success of video? Do we have data supporting this method being more successful? I know we put out a blog post, it's probably been about a year, and we're actually working on gathering some more customer data around specific content blocks being used in the proposal around photo, video, and then just kind of copy. But to answer your question, I believe about a year ago, we had found that it was anywhere between, our customers saw anywhere between 20 and 30% increase in close rates when they used a photo or video in their proposal. So I would love to see what it is now that we have a few more, 15,000 customers who are, hopefully using all of the fun features and functionality of the product. But I know our customers have definitely seen kind of a significant increase in their close rate when they've added a little more color to the proposal or, personalized things a little bit more. So yeah, stay tuned for more info on that. We're working on some more reports on those. So let's see.
I think there's a good one right here from Simon.
Okay, go
Is
for it.
there a risk in humanizing the sales process too much? I can see this possibly giving the impression to the prospect that you, as a salesperson, and then onboarding team are always available for face-to-face communication. And on our end, I don't think that humanizing the process hurts. I think you're giving them more collateral. For example, in onboarding, you're giving them that video to be able to go back to in case they are having trouble setting something up. And I think during the prospecting side of things, we're definitely using it more as a way to gain rapport. But Reva, what are your thoughts around this question? Is there a risk to humanizing the sales process too much?
I would say there's probably a bigger risk to not. So it's a risk we're willing to take. I think that when the time and place, you have to choose when to use personalization. So we use it at the very beginning. We want to increase our response rates at the get-go, maybe have as minimal outreach as possible to actually book that meeting, which is what my team's focused on. But I would say a healthy blend, because the other thing is that video doesn't mean that all other channels are dead. So you still need to pick up the phone. You still need to write emails here and there. You still need to use social platforms. So it's just a time and place to use that personal element.
Reva, this is another good one too. Love the video insight. Do you personalize each video for your sales outreach, or is this a template video which is included? Yeah, so I think they're just basically asking, do you guys templatize things, or how do you record things for each person?
Yeah, that is a good question. It's a little look into the behind the scenes of what my team does. So, and again, all of our customers, you can do whatever you'd like with video, but our kind of strategy is we choose when to do one-to-one super personalized videos and one-to-many or account-based sales videos. So we might do a single video for an entire marketing team at a company. So we might reach out to 7 or 8 people on the team, but have a video that we can use for all of them. We also, for instance, if a customer success manager is welcoming a customer on board, they might actually have that video recorded in a way that looks personalized, but they're not mentioning the company or the person's name. So they're able to use that same video every time they welcome a customer on. So it feels personalized to the prospect or the new customer, but it's actually a video they're using over and over again.
Yeah, I love that question, right? Because it's sales reps, it kind of goes back to that conversation we had at the beginning of the webinar, talking about reps have access to so many tools and there's so much automation and things, and the last thing you want to do is bog them down with another, activity or task in addition to the stuff that they're already working on. So I always love to hear how you guys kind of combat that rebuttal, if you will. So yeah, it's a good one. Okay. I don't want to keep everybody too much longer, but I think there's a couple more that are pretty good that I want to get to. This is a great one. I think it applies to both of you guys. In instances when video emails are not being opened or viewed, do you typically follow up with a non-video version? I guess, what's the best way to kind of get their attention if video doesn't do the trick?
Yeah, for our team, our goal is to just get that person to watch that video that you spent a bit of extra time making. So if they don't open that first email, we have a cadence of steps that we are using to try and get them to look back at that first email. We might, we also do that through voicemail. So we're not trying to get a phone call back. No one's returning your phone call from a voicemail. But we are trying to tell them, last Wednesday, I sent you a video through email and it explains everything that I'm calling about today, if you wouldn't mind watching that video. And then we try different channels. So we're going to take that same video that we took time making and send it to them through Sales Navigator or LinkedIn Message, and just try to get them to watch the video.
Yeah, and I think on our end, if there's something that we sent over and we're seeing that hasn't been opened or nobody's touched it, we're really kind of asking what's going on or why there hasn't been a response. And I think using different channels is definitely key. Calls are still very pertinent in our org. So a lot of times we're calling that person, trying to reference a video that we sent or some content that we sent over. But I think the key is having multiple types of outreach and kind of stacking those together versus, just one thing or just the phone calls. I think that's really what a lot of these tools are helping with now. And like SalesLoft and the cadences, that helps you kind of cover all your bases.
Yeah. Yep. Guys, thank you so much. Audience, we appreciate your attention, and these were all super, super awesome questions. We really appreciate you guys spending the time to kind of interact with us and ask those. If we didn't get to your question, we're really super sorry, but I have added a slide on the last page of the slide deck where you can get in touch with Reva or Anna on LinkedIn. So by all means, please reach out to these gals. They're super, super smart, obviously, but they probably have some more insights that they can share for any kind of feedback that you guys need on your process or what you're kind of doing day to day, but feel free to connect with them on LinkedIn. And then we'll also have a couple other resources to share. It looks like Vidyard has a great prospecting playbook that they've come out with recently. So we'll give you guys that as well. There's some more great prospecting tips in there. And then we are also letting you guys know about our new People First Sales Team ebook as well. So there's some great scripts and templates and some other proposal things happening in that ebook too. And those will be takeaways in the slide deck when we share those a little bit later today. Anna, Reva, thanks so much for your time. You guys rocked it. Appreciate it. And thanks everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye guys.
Bye.